Welcome back. So, in this series, we will try to focus on the second biggest, capability of Anthos, which is basically having an attached cluster feature. When I say attached cluster, it's like if you're already running a Azure Kubernetes cluster in the Azure and Amazon EKS cluster in the Amazon cloud, and then it's always possible to go back and attach these cluster to existing fleet and the Anthos. So that's the another fantastic feature of the Anthos. In the first scenario, we have come across with installing GKE and the GCP and GKE and the Azure and finally GKE and the Amazon, and then we are able to control all these clusters which are part of the single fleet in a single control plane, and we are able to do a sample deployment for all three. So in this example, we'll go back to we'll jump to the scenario two, which is like attaching the existing the AKS cluster in Azure and EKS cluster in Amazon to the the Google Cloud Anthos. I mean basically the GK Enterprise, which is part of the these cluster is going to be part of a single fleet. That is what we are going to demonstrate. So to start with, let's go and create the AKS cluster and then attach it to the fleet. So again, I'm going back to examples. If you go to the Anthos examples, if you come down here, you will see attach cluster option, which is there you go, Anthos attached clusters. So here they have given three examples, the kind cluster and then the AKS and EKS. We will focus on these two. That is where majority of the customers are sitting, who are spread across three different public clouds nowadays. So to start with, we'll go to AKS. So again, all I did is I cloned that entire repository in my local GitHub repository. And then if you go to AKS, so the same code I have cloned it. Now let us try to understand it from the official documentation, like how we can go and find the stuffs for this. So again, if you go to the Anthos or GK Enterprise official, if you go and search for GK Enterprise, the first page it opens the the documentation. So if you come down little in the documentation, you will see guides, GK on AWS, GK on Azure, which we have already done. There is a third scenario which is GKE attached clusters. So here is the thing, where you have an option, like of course GKE cluster which is already running on the GCP, that you can always go back and register to fleet, which we have already done. So now the EKS cluster which is running on AWS and the AKS cluster which is running Azure, that we will go and attach to the fleet. So the instructions are again mentioned here. So if you go and see the instructions for attaching your AKS cluster, step seems to be straightforward. So what you will do is your existing AKS cluster credentials you are getting, and you are storing that context in the kubectl and kubeconfig underscore context, and then there is a straightforward command which is g cloud container attach clusters register. You're giving your cluster name, the location where the Google Cloud region is present, and then the corresponding project number, basically the fleet project we can say, and the distribution, what kind of distribution, whether it's an EKS or AKS. It's a straightforward steps. It's not much complex. And then for the logging purpose, and if at all you are planning to use the Google Cloud logging facility, you can always go back and set up this IAM policy and start using it. So it's not that complex. It's straightforward. So what I will do, I'll go back to my Terraform code. Oh, sorry, here. Same thing here as well. We are defining couple of, I mean, let's go back to the, TFR section first. So I'm just defining my Google project, the name prefix, how this project is going to, I mean, this cluster is going to be identified, and then the owner, If you go back to the main, of course, variable is also the corresponding variables, whatever we defined, owner, name prefix, some tags, K8 version, how many nodes you want, that is in the node count, platform version, the basically the Kubernetes version which you're planning to, you know, map it with in the attached cluster version. So now if you come back here, in the main code base, so if you see here, this is okay. Here is the thing. In this Terraform code, what we are doing is we are create for the demo purpose. We are creating AKS cluster, which is currently not there. So first, for the demonstration purpose, we are creating AKS cluster in Azure, and then we will be calling a function which is I mean our module which is present inside this folder that will go and register this cluster in GCP. So this code piece is for like creating the resource group and then creating the Kubernetes cluster of using this machine type and all those things. And this is the module where we are calling and getting all the files preparations, and then finally you are attaching to the existing fleet. So this is the details for that fleet. So if you go to Anthos attached cluster, uh, this is the I mean sorry, here it is modules. So in the main module, this is the the code base which is present for that particular set of actions. It's very straightforward. It's not much using the Helm template. They are generating a config file, and then they will do that installation with the help of that Terraform command. It's a straightforward steps. If you go through the code base, right? That's why I repeatedly stress in order to understand the entire Anthos, the whatever I'm trying to demonstrate, it is necessary to have a minimum knowledge on the Terraform and the module, because it's very difficult for me to teach the Terraform in this session. Of course, if I'm planning to have a separate session on Terraform at some point of time, but definitely not now, because I'm planning to cover a bunch of Anthos tutorial itself. So that is the reason why it's always recommended to have a basic knowledge of Terraform, a minimum knowledge on Terraform with some sort of a module kind of basics is more than sufficient to understand any sort of this code base. So let's go back to the README. Again, to understand what exactly these steps are doing, that we have already demonstrated here. These are straightforward steps. All you're doing is just running this command, which is gcloud container attach cluster register, which is going to register a cluster, to the fleet, basically to Anthos console or GKE enterprise console. That's all. So let's come back and there are certain prerequisites. If you go here, so oh, where it is? Sorry, it's not my repository. Ah, there you go. This is my repository inside a README. As usual, if you don't have AZCLI, it's always recommended to go back, since we have already done this in our first set of tutorials. For me, I don't need to execute this step, but if you are directly trying to trying with this particular module to attaching the cluster to the fleet, you can always go back and do this, and then log into a particular tenant and export your subscription and tenant IDs and go and run the Terraform. Okay, for the demonstration purpose, I will go back and show you that my cluster status, everything is clean. So if you see, currently I don't have any fleets. I have removed all the old fleets which was created as a part of our scenario first. But for the demonstration, I wanted to show everything from the scratch. That is the reason why I've deleted. Since I've already enabled the Anthos API, you will see enterprise feature here. So that's it. So let's go to my local machine. So here you will see Anthos attached cluster. So now this is the code base. So I'll go to AKS. Okay, so I don't know where I logged in earlier. So what I'll do, I'll just do AZ logout and I do fresh AZ login. So I can go back and fetch my tenant details. It will ask for a device login. All right, now if you have multiple subscription, always you can go back and choose the numbers where you are planning to do this setup. Since I have only one subscription in my tenant, I have chosen one. Now, if you do AZ account show, it shows that I'm in this tenant within that this particular subscription. So now if I go back to the documentation, the other step is to export this subscription and tenant ID, and that's all. So it's just again running the same command AZ account show and extract this tenant ID and subscription ID. That's all. Uh, let's go back and initialize our Terraform. This could take a couple of seconds. All right. Now let's run the plan. There you go. Let's quickly go back and see what exactly it is doing. So as I was mentioning, it is going to create a Kubernetes, I mean AKS cluster in Azure first, and then it is creating one default node pool. This is a resource group where it will be sitting, and then once the creation is successful, what it is doing is it is attaching that AKS cluster to Fleet, basically to Anthos, the GK enterprise. So we can go back and see in the GK enterprise console once this registration is successful. So that it is doing using some local Helm charts, which is building some config files which is necessary required like project details, all those things, and using that it will run that attach cluster command. So without delay, let's try to do apply. Okay, this could take a couple of minutes because it's first creating the AKS cluster and then it will register. I mean, if you want to save the time, you can always go back and create AKS cluster in the beginning itself, and you can go with that command line options. Since for me, the main agenda was to demonstrate the process, so that was the only reason why I have not done all these things, manually and all. And also, if you create manually, you need to keep track of all the resources which it is creating. With AKS, it's easy because it sits, everything sits in one resource group. If you delete the resource group, everything it will delete. But if you see in Amazon and all, it's that your resources will be scattered across because that kind of a holistic resource group kind of an option is not present in Amazon. So if you go back, there you go. It's already started creating the Kubernetes cluster so fast. should have one node pool. There you go. It's creating. Okay, now the pool creation is completed. That means the cluster creation. Yeah, there you go. Now, since the Kubernetes cluster is already created, I mean the AKS, now the next step would be try registering this to our fleet. So now you can track this in your console. Or if someone is interested to do directly via UI, you can always go back and click here, attach cluster, and there are prerequisites. If you click here before you begin, ensure that your cluster can be reached. That means you should have the kubectl installed, and supporting kube config file should be there. And then you need to modify the outbound rules so that it can access these APIs. And then you need to do this step. You need to log into gcloud version, you need to do auth login, you need to enable these APIs, you need to grant these IAM roles. And then the next step would be giving the cluster, your AKS cluster name, kind of distribution, and what is the version when you onboard here. So basically that's straightforward steps. The same thing we have done using Terraform. So now if you see, it's already started the process of attaching the cluster. Now if you click on fleets, it's not yet. So first let's go to the cluster. So now if you see, attachment is completed. There you go. Now if I refresh, you can see that fleet is created and this cluster is part of this fleet. Also, you can see the number of nodes and other information as well. Let's try to connect to this cluster. Now it's fetching the I mean the configuration. Now if you see kubectl get ns, you see, GK connect API is there. So that's the API, which is responsible, the key API I can say. So let's try to do it by test deployment using image uh, njnx. Let it be in the default namespace. Not giving the option to deploy. Okay, I think there was some background process was still running, and that could be the reason why it took some time. So now let's try to do a deployment called deployment one in a namespace test, for example, and there you go. You have you're already seeing the cluster which we have attached just now, and then let's go to container details. Let it be this, and I don't want to expose anything. Let me quickly try to deploy this. Ah, even this command has worked. Yeah, I mean, that's the only reason. Some background process was still getting activated, it seems. That could be the reason why it took some time to make that, fields available there. So see how powerful this is. Like, even though your cluster is running in AKS, so does that mean it will stop your capability to do any sort of deployment and maintenance on the existing AKS? No, that will not. That part of the functionality would be continuing as it is. In addition to that, since the cluster is already part of the fleet, it makes much more sense for anybody to start maintaining it via your GK Enterprise console itself, because it's part of the fleet, and the clusters which are part of the fleet are always, it's recommended to get maintained by a single console. That makes one's process much more easier. So now let's see if this deployment is successful or not. So I have tried to create a test deployment using the image nginx. Let me see that. There you go. It's I think it's a pure network issue because of two different clouds cross connection, I think. Okay, so now let's do in a diff test namespace. Oh yeah, I think we have to refresh. Intermittent connectivity issue, I feel. Yeah, there you go. Now it's displaying. Now let's create a container details, let it be, and let's try to deploy and see if this works now. We can go and see what could be the issue. So if you go to Fleet, it's a good exercise, we can always go and troubleshoot what could be the reason for this. So if you see in the notification, agent is unreachable. So you can always go back and check the logs here. Let's check uh, the part status, in the GKE Connect. It's running. So not a issue. The other thing which I can check would be Anthos identity service, but in this case we are not using that. The another possible could be It's running, but is it restarted? Oh yeah, it's restarted. Yeah, it could be OOM. Ah, there you go. Okay, what we will do, kubectl uh, get all hyphen n eke connect. That will list out all the resources. Yeah, I think the resources are less, it seems. I missed to note one thing here, which is like in order to register, I think there will there I remember. I think I forgot to tell you guys about that. There is a requirement where your node machines should have some sort of capacity requirement. I don't know. I remember I read it somewhere, but unfortunately I'm not able to pull that document. But I'll find it and I'll share with you guys. Uh, I don't know where it is. I need to find it out. I'll find it out. Okay, let's see one thing. Let me try to since the pod is restarted GKE connect agent, but right now it's not. So let's do one thing. Let's make one more final attempt because our which I know it's a good experience for every one of you. But let's try to see now whether it will work. If it is still not, then I'll try to increase the. Or what you can do is you can go ahead and edit the deployment, which is GKE connect, you know, hyphen n, which is again a GKE connect. You can always go back and increase the resource for this. My bad. Yeah, I think it's just because only one worker node is running and total vCPU for that node is very, very small. I think that makes much more sense. I mean, that is the reason why this is crying. Oh, yeah. Let's array. Know why the shell is behaving like this. I have increased it to 512. It should be. Yeah, it's a connect agent issue because the agent is not is not able to connect there. The easiest way to solve this issue is go back to your default node pool and scale the node pool to count 2, which is here. So what I'll do, I'll go here, scale the node pool. It's good. I mean, I'll go here and I'll apply. Now immediately it will spin up one more node in the default pool. That would eventually solve this. Okay, now it's scaling. We'll come back and do kubectl get nodes. It's still not. So since these nodes are part of virtual machine scale set, we can always go back to virtual machine scale set and see whether the nodes are spinning or not. This is good. I mean, it's this issue has appeared here, and that made us to even get exposed to scaling the node pool in Azure and how to troubleshoot this, because it seems to be straightforward. If the pod can restart from multiple reasons, but if it is still running and ready, that would be the pod state and it is showing the restart count. 99.99% the reason for that restart would be your resource. Most of which again is would be OOM, out of memory issue. So now the nodes are ready. Now if you go on to kubectl get nodes, you have one more node. Now if you go back and see the status of the GKE connect, it should be running. There you go. Good. Now you go back here to your console, refresh it, and go to all fleets. Always, this is what I recommend. Go to all fleets, access your cluster. There you see the status. Now it should show number of nodes as 2 and total VCP also should be increased. There you go. So now we will go to workloads and let's try to deploy a sample workload now. Let's refresh one more time. I think it was showing here missing data. Let's see what is that. Oh, okay. Could not get data from cluster, unavailable. That means still something is not liking. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's restart GKE agent. Okay, I have restarted the deployment. Let's check the part status. Yeah, I think as I said, I read somewhere there the minimum requirement machine type, or probably what you guys can do is, go back to, your Terraform and increase. Ah, there you go. Now, as soon as I restart, right, I think it is working. Now it is reachable. Yeah, it's purely, the agent issue, GK connect agent issue, because that's your heartbeat, I can say, a main door between these two. So now you go to workload. Let's see if we are able to. Yeah, it's a resource crunch issue. Mainly it's a resource crunch issue. There you go. It is. Now let's try to deploy. Let's see if this works. Oh yeah, there you go. Let me do in the default namespace only. Deploy. Still unreachable. That means ah, application controller unknown reason. I don't know. We have to figure it out. What is that reason still? Okay, I gave retry options. Let's see. But after restarting the deployment, I can see all the workloads present there. That means still, I think it is still taking some time to restart or what I need to see. Just a second, let me see. Ah, now it's gone. I think restart helped. It might, took some time for clean restart, but yeah, I think it is helping now. Workloads. Let's try now. But still it is showing some missing data. I don't know why. Hmm. Test deploy. Oh, you know what? The previous three deployment attempts, whatever we made, are successful here. If you see, I think sorry, one attempt, not all. I think one of the attempt. So it went successful. Yeah, I mean it's just purely the resource crunch and the connection between your Anthos and I mean basically this the yeah basically this GKE UI and your Azure that is happening via this JKE Connect, and it's purely because of the connectivity which is happening because of the resource crunch. So what I would recommend for you folks is go back here and when you create a AKS cluster, so yeah, this one, try to increase it from D2 to D4. That D4 comes with 4 core CPU, 4 into 4, which is 16 core, I mean 16 GB memory, and that would definitely fix this without any issue. And also the number of nodes you increase it from 1 to 2. Okay. Good. So we are successfully able to, register the, we what I mean to summarize, we did create a AKS cluster, and then we registered that AKS cluster to Fleet, and then we try to deploy sample load both via command line separately in the AKS and also via from the UI in the GKE. So good. So in the next session, we will try to do the same thing with EKS cluster. Thank you all. Please subscribe to my channel and please support me so that I can publish even more videos as soon as possible. Thank you so much, guys.